I thought yesterday was as close to perfection as footy gets, doesn't it, TJ? From every aspect of the game, lead up and particularly the game itself and the aftermath, which we're about to celebrate big time in a few moments' time with Alicia Milling.
Yeah, that's right. If you'd stop talking, we'll get there. But no, just joking, Damo. Kane Corns is here.
It's unbelievable. The 11 goals that was kicked in the second term, some of the goals that we score, the high marks, the skill level, particularly with the ball movement. To do that in front of 100,000 on the biggest day of all, I thought it was the best game that I've ever seen, let alone a grand final in terms of what we witnessed yesterday is going to go down in history.
Lordo, your sentiments on 3AW were similar. You said it is the best grand final you've ever seen.
Yeah, I always talk about 1989 when I fell in love with footy watching that game, Hawthorn v Geelong. It was just brutal, that game, but I think it's the best one I've seen since then, since I've been covering footy. Probably since the year 2000. There's been some great grand finals, but this one's been the best. And I think too many coaches tip out veterans and think they need to move on with youth. But what Pendlebury side bottom Chris, Mitchell and Howe did for Collingwood yesterday, I think other coaches could take note that keep good people around and it can take you a long way.
And I know that throughout the show you're going to give us a bit of an insight into the coaching of Craig McRae, because in many ways it came down to the coaches in the final stages as opposed to just the players.
It did, off-field coaching and on-field coaching.
Yeah. How are you, mate?
Yeah, good. Congratulations, Collingwood. Has there been a more popular winner of the Norm Smith medal than Bobby Hill? And I agree, the goals yesterday. I think that Zach Bailey kicked the goal of the year in the grand final yesterday, so I think we should go back to awarding it after the grand final. The last one was Aussie Jones back in '97.
Hey, Damo, can I just ask you, just my own opinion is that the grand final eve, the parade, the best we've ever had.
You felt that immediately?
Absolutely. I was there for 3AW in Yarra Park and I could not believe the crowd that was coming from the parade to Yarra Park itself. It was phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. The route was perfect, everything was perfect, helped by the weather, of course. Yeah. The pre-match entertainment, did anyone have an issue with that? I thought it was probably the best we've had.
Yep, I agree.
Right? I don't think it was the best we've ever had. I thought the spectacle and the fireworks around it, but Kiss themselves, Robbie Williams was better than...
Yeah, that's fine, and a lot of people will agree with that. I mean, it's unfortunate, I think the broadcast missed Paul Stanley smashing the guitar, which is an iconic part of Kiss's performance, but anyway. And also the game itself. Yeah. You know, it's just... And I know it's not all about Gil McLachlan, but what a way to bow out.
Well, it's the greatest game in the world, Tony, and we love it.
Why, because of Gil McLachlan?
No.
Yeah, but
the greatest game in the world.
And often grand finals, you know, a team, you know, just capitulates and chokes. So to Brisbane as well. How good they were. So close. What a team, but just weren't good enough. And Collingwood won the big moments.
And blew the myth about can't play at the MCG.
Yeah, no, that was super.
OK, well, what do you reckon the scenes might be like out at Collingwood headquarters at the moment? Well, let's find out as we head out there. And Alicia Milling is there. Alicia... Well, it's a silly question, but how are they?
Oh, Tony, if you want to know what euphoria feels like, absolutely hook this into your veins. It is going absolutely bananas. Look at the smiles on people's faces. Everyone is completely beside themselves. They haven't slept, but why do you need to sleep when you're the premiers? Actually, as I was walking into the ground, I saw a couple of blokes sleeping in the car park behind me. So some incredible scenes here this afternoon as the MC just comes over and steals my thunder, but that's absolutely fine. I want to have a chat to one very special lady, Lorraine. She's 88 years old. Lorraine, how are you?
I'm well.
How are you feeling in that fourth quarter?
Oh, awful. Terrible. I thought we were going to lose it again. Surely not. And we've won. It's wonderful. Last time I was here, 1999, and I thought I'd never see another premiership because of my age, 88, nearly 89, and now I'm here.
And you look wonderful, Lorraine. I want you to show everyone your nails.
Here they are. Special. I'll go to bed 44 nights with mine.
So awesome. It's an absolutely awesome atmosphere, guys. As you say, we have so many stars that we are talking to a little later. Steel side bottom, Nick and Josh Dacos, Scott Pendlebury, Jeremy Howe, just to name a few. The players, they're going to be all the way over there on the balcony at 12 o'clock. We'll bring you that to you. But it's going to be an absolutely awesome morning. Can't wait for it, guys.
All right, fantastic, Alicia. Good on you. Thank you very much for that. You stay there. What a place to be at the moment. Darcy Moore, the captain, will also be joining us live. And, you know, when we talk to people like Lorraine, that's what Craig McRae has managed to do, hasn't he, Damo? He has galvanised that Magpie army, and they consistently talk about it being the 19th man in the stands.
Yeah, they've done that, TJ. And it was one of the actual aspects aspects upon which he was given the coaching role when he first pitched for it, to bring the fans back the way he has.
Speaking of the fans, the story early last week was those fans that couldn't get a ticket.
Yep.
And we saw there was chaos. Craig Kelly doubles down on the push to look after the members after grand final ticketing debacle. So you feel for all those people. These tickets were impossible to get. Some of these Legends members missed out. So hard to get one, we know that. Only 17,000 Collingwood fans were able to get a ticket. I've been able to access some exclusive CCTV vision. CCTV vision yesterday of the MCG, inside the MCG. And would you believe that this man sitting alongside of me thought he would turn up to the grand final where no one can get a ticket without a ticket? And he's trying to talk his way in to the grand final saying, don't you know who I am? The arrogance to turn up without a ticket yesterday. Unbelievable.
I got in eventually.
What happened, Damo?
I didn't have my pass accredited.
Oh, what?
And I'm blaming Triple M for that reason, TJ. No, just of all the names on the list, it wasn't on there.
So did you have to make a call, or?
Yeah, I made a call, and then we went to another little office, and then we got through before the game.
Oh, you got
started.
taken into border security, did you?
No, I got sent on the gate, and then I was going to get let through, and then that's good vision, by the way. I was being filmed a few times.
He didn't even have a ticket to the September Club. I had to get him into the September Club
too.
later that night.
I had a good day.
I thought he was going to roll through.
Is that just your way of saying you were in the September Club?
Absolutely, Tony. Hey, for many parts of this year, you've always wanted us to roll the Tim Watson vision, where he loses his way. He wants to talk about Greg Hutchison. You've had your own Tim Watson moment Friday night in the My Room telethon, and it was an absolute ripper. Let's have a look.
I'm going to try and start growing my hair back. The living. We got a party going on and it's free.
You forgot the name of the living end. We promoted them all week, all night, and you've called them the living people.
No. Okay, some clever editing there. The pause wasn't that great. But I do remember saying, coming up after the break, we're going to catch up with the living people. And I looked over, and Lordo, it's fair income like I just assassinated somebody. Like the look on Lordo's face.
But I just didn't want to give it to you.
Anyway, well, it's one big team effort here on the Sunday Footy Show, as it was for the Collingwood Football Club. So let's take a look at the stats that matter.
Oh, these are the scores. The critical one is the top one. 4 points Collingwood win the grand final by. They would have been gutted if they lost because of the 18 behinds they kicked, but the best side won. Bobby Hill, the Norm Smith medalist, kicks 4. Chris was amazing with 2. DeGoey 2. Nick Dacos 29 disposals. And these are the scenes. This is what you play footy for. This is what you barrack for a team for. This is why you're involved in footy, because this is the best time, the 20 minutes after the game when you realise you've achieved something special. They started training in November, the kids. Craig McRae started this journey 2 years ago, and they didn't happen for them last year, but they've built towards the scenarios and the moments, and the belief he has them, believing that they can achieve anything and win games from nowhere. That's why I believe they won this grand final, Damo.
Yeah, and the fans just embraced it, obviously. They stayed and they lingered in the ground, and then after they were asked to leave, they then continued down the precinct to Swan Street. They came back to the AIA Centre. There were tattoos being asked for and given. There was a little bit of behaviour there which could have ended up badly, but it didn't. And look, it was all pretty in good spirits, TJ.
I tell you what, if I could have one business in the next week, it would be as a tattooist, I think. They are going to... I'm tempted to get one myself, actually.
Where would you get it, TJ? Where would you get it?
On the ankle.
What, just Collingwood 2023?
No, just a magpie. Just a subtle little magpie, but it ain't going to happen. But look at these scenes here. Oh, boy, it could have been so different, Damo. I tell you, had Brisbane got up.
It would have been an interesting scenario, wouldn't it? And look, we reflected before about the perfection of the day, and let's just take a look at some of it. The sun was out. It was the perfect day in that regard. May have been a little bit too hot if we want to take away some of the perfection, but everything worked. The capacity officially is 100,024 people. They got exactly that. Mike Brady performed.
He has to be there every grand final.
You're big on that, aren't you? You're big on that.
So good.
Look, it was daylight, but the fireworks worked when it came to the KISS performance as well.
Yeah, and I just think... Sorry, just getting back on Mike Brady, his voices, I mean, Kiss, they were sensational. OK, maybe their voices aren't what they were back in the 80s when they played at Waverley, but the way all those kids came out and the way that it was military precision-like.
Good show.
The crew that actually brought that stage out and took it straight back in again, it was unbelievable. And the fact that they can do that with, I don't know how many wheels are on those stages, but from what we could see, not a divot in the ground. A remarkable exercise. But just very quickly on Mike Brady, he's got to be at every grand final until the day he drops dead, because the crowd, you were all... No, well, I mean, Mike would want it that way as well. But the crowd just lapped it up, and every person in that stadium was singing that iconic anthem up there.
They've done it differently, haven't they? The Collingwood players have been so relaxed all year. They embrace these moments. This is pre-game. I mean, that may have been when he's told them that he's just had a baby on the morning of. I don't know what is being discussed there, but that's what they do. They live in the moment like I've never seen any other team do it. We spoke about it on Friday night off the back of the grand final parade, and Brayden Maynard embracing...
Look at this.
The crowd, he's done this all year, and you can see the enjoyment, the smiles on their face. You have the pre-game shot, the photo, the full team photo before the game. I remember going back and looking at mine of that, and it's just stone cold faces. That was the way that you thought it should have been done, but this group's doing it completely differently.
Would you have liked to have played that way?
Yeah,
now
absolutely.
You reflect.
And you wonder whether you would have been a better player for it.
Really?
They're embracing the mental side of it. They're working with psychologists, and individually they're preparing with what works for them. And I just wonder if this will infect the rest of the competition off the back of that success.
Oh, yeah, you do it that way.
Yeah.
Could have that also been sending a message to Brisbane? Because the Lions were actually out on the ground for some time before Collingwood made it out there. Now, if they had looked up at the screens and saw that, could have it been a subtle message?
Yeah, well, it's been something about the destiny with this group all year, and those big moments, they don't panic, they enjoy it. If they make a mistake, they get around each other, they celebrate each other. So, yeah, it's certainly been a big advantage for them this year, Lordo.
I want to look at the moment that I think got away from the Brisbane Lions, because when Lincoln McCarthy kicked the special goal, they went 13 points up. They were red hot, the Brisbane Lions. So this is a Lincoln McCarthy goal. They were kicking them from absolutely everywhere. They had all the momentum. They go 13 points up in an AFL Grand Final with all the momentum. But then, against the grain, this is Jack Crisp and Jared Berry. What you don't do as a wingman is charge in anymore. You hold your width. So Jared Berry comes in. Chris holds out, and I think it was a bad mistake by Jared Berry, and the ball just gets popped over. Crisp goes back and kicks the goal and just gives them a little bit back. The corridor, what a kick by Brayden Maynard, straight after to Jeremy Howe, and then the hot man gets out the back, Bobby Hill. So that was a bad moment for the Brisbane Lions as well. And then look at this, 21 seconds to go, scores are level, and you want to go in at half-time feeling good about yourself. Nick Dacos should not get out of this situation because he's hemmed in boundary side, but he's a young champion. I think he's had more impact in 2 years of footy than any player in the history of the game. He gets back corridor and the ball goes over to Crisp, who kicks the goal. So they kicked 3 goals, TJ, in the space of 4 or 5 minutes when the game was against them. And I think that's what lost the game.
It lives with you forever, doesn't it? And they weren't the only ones. And the Rayner kick on quarter time that ended up in a De Goey goal, the Berry 50, which led to the sideline goal. Now, Collingwood had a few as well, but these moments will stay with them forever when you get that close to winning a grand final. It's great vision, and it's going to be a tough review for that team to watch.
Such a great last quarter. So let's have a look at some of the big highlights of that last quarter. And this goal from Charlie Cameron, as good as you get. So you've got to beat two of them. You've got to beat Maynard and also Plainer, and then pick it up and be able to put it on your boot. He does just that. But then the Pies, they just do this so well. So Nick Dacos, have a look at his ability to get that ball, and he's gone. He is gone within a blink of an eye. He gets it forward, and this is why he's so good. Not many players would be able to do that handball to De Goey, and then he's just a finisher. He's a big moment player, Jordan De Goey, and then they go to steal side bottom. I was in the commentary box. I didn't think he could get the distance. I thought he'd set it up like they had most of the day. That's 55. In all his goals in his career, only 8 have been outside 50. That's the best of them. And then I like this. They keep it in, and Joe Danaher didn't want to have a set shot. Played on very quickly. They obviously couldn't get the job done, but a pulsating last quarter.
So we interviewed players after the game on 3AW, Nath, and this is the siren. You know, this is the scenes you want to talk about, and you'll never forget. I saw side bottom charge to Scotty Pendlebury. Those guys, they've got the record, those two, of the longest gap between premierships.
13 years.
13 years between the first to the next, and I know they enjoyed this one even more so just because of the fact that they're more mature. But icing the game. Collingwood. So they do match play every training session, and they would spend 4 to 5 minutes in different scenarios.
Well, you brought our listeners in on this, I reckon, about 3 months ago, when they just shut games down with deft touches. So what did you notice yesterday with how they did it?
Well, they right throughout the last quarter, Damo, they went into modes of icing the game when you're in front, but then also you got to win the game. So they just kept flipping, and they were looking to Craig McRae and the signs boards to go, OK, what do you want us to do? Do you want us to slow it down? Do you want us to go fast? And they have an amazing ability within quarter to flip modes as many times as they need to. And I think it's that belief that they have that eventually won them.
So you're saying in more than any other grand final, the coach has had an influence from the bench?
The coach and the on-field players, and particularly Scott Pendlebury, who we're going to talk about as well.
And their list management has just been extraordinary to get them to this point. The players that they have brought in, one of those is now the Norm Smith medalist, Bobby Hill. What a performance on the biggest stage. So the career best game, career best goals, equal career best disposals with 18 on the biggest day of all. He had the Starcevic matchup. We've seen this one.
Look at this.
His ability to get up and then get back in behind. But I also thought his defensive pressure, so the 18 touches don't tell the full story. The shimmy to the right, then back on the left, the skill to be able to do that on this day is one of the great grand final performances we've seen. And here he is getting the medal. Now, Collingwood have identified speed in their front half. McCreery's been important in that, and you just can't beat it. So here's how the voting went. And even if they lost that game, he still wins the Norm Smith medal. There's no doubt about that. Look, it's an absolute domination. And then you can probably throw a blanket over 5 or 6 players, Brownie.
When you're hot the way he was, I mean, have a snap from 45 metres out, the way he found Pendlebury in the middle of that ground, so only probably 15 metres closer, made it almost a sure thing. So he had his head in the game the whole game.
He took 6 marks inside forward 50.
And his tackling was great too.
Can I ask you specifically about Scott Pendlebury? Because, as you said, he and Steele Sidebottom, 13 years between drinks. How good was he?
It was the greatest. I won't say the greatest, because it's been guys who have kicked bags of goals in like Jarman type. But in terms of a midfielder, it was as good a quarter, his last quarter of football, that I've seen in a grand final.
He doesn't make a mistake.
No, he doesn't make a mistake. His composure, his poise, his presence, his leadership. Like, I remember Luke Hodge did an amazing, where he was mic'd up, and it was as good as I've heard for a back seven where he taught players. This was just off the charts with Scotty Pendlebury just owning the moments. He owned the last period of the game. Look at this. Look at that kick, the vision, the peripheral vision. So when everyone after half-time tired and fatigued, Damo, he did not make a mistake. And look at that, even the spoils and the tackles. As I said, his last quarter was as good a grand final quarter as I can remember.
You've got to work really closely with him this year through coaching Haileybury. What have you ascertained about his ability to read football like very few can?
Well, his basketball background has made him, like that lateral movement and everything like that. But his ability to teach complicated strategy with limited words and make it feel so simple is what blows me away about Scott Pendlebury.
Yeah, well, if you're a fan of Pendlebury, so too the coach.
Pendle's last quarter was something else, and his composure when everyone else was starting to get a little bit fatigued, and but what you guys do see or don't see is the organisation, and Pendle's again orchestrating everything. You can't buy experience on grand final day.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what, it was an experience, that's for sure, as it was for families. And if it's all about building dynasties, then we certainly saw that in a couple of respects, Damo.
It was a dramatic day for Craig McRae before it started. 7:45, his wife Gabrielle gave birth to Maggie, their daughter. Her sister took her to hospital, and he was there when it happened. But to think that...
So he was at the birth?
He got there, I believe, in time for it, and then was able to process all of that, the emotions just charging through, and then to go and compartmentalise that and then present that news to the group as they started rolling up. So, extraordinary day. Yeah,
and from a family affair again, you look at the Dacoses, for example. Now, we know that Peter has been nurturing these boys, and we heard that fantastic story on Brownlow night, about the beach house and everything. But there was just genuine joy there, and just fully embracing the moment. Can you even comprehend, not one son, but two? And here's Peter Moore, who unfortunately premiership success eluded Peter Moore, but you can see the sheer adulation there for him.
Isn't it amazing? Like, Geelong won premierships, and a lot of premierships off the back of father-sons, and now you just wonder what Collingwood are going to achieve potentially off the back of father-sons, Darcy Moore, Josh and Nick Dacos. They can, that's defining of what they can potentially achieve.
And there's more coming through, because I think Mick McGuan's boy is quite handy too, from all accounts. Now, beautiful family moments, but I'm sorry, but nothing compared to what we saw in the rooms with Jordan De Goey presenting his premiership medal to his grandmother, who sadly is gravely ill, and she was there for the occasion, and you can see just what this meant for her in very, very difficult times. But these were joyous times, and Jordan De Goey there, who has just really stood up in September, hasn't he? And he's been a credit to the club and quite clearly his grandmother.
Like Toby Green.
Absolutely.
I think Toby, had a lot of knockers, and I was certainly one of them at the time, and I've been critical on Jordan De Goey, but I think he's won a lot of people over, hasn't he? With
the
way
brilliant final
the field,
performance, and then the 2 goals he kicked yesterday. Don't underestimate those that impact on that scoreboard.
Stoppage was always going to be so important. The 2 really strong, powerful midfielders going at it. I thought Collingwood did something differently yesterday with their ability to surge the footy on. Here's Still Sidebottom speaking post-game.
We like to get momentum coming forward and, almost force the opposition to go backwards. And when they were able to control the ball, they probably got on top. And, we play our best footy in live play. And, I think there was momentum swings for both sides. And I think when we had ours, we were able to keep the ball moving.
So the big focus of that was this surge footy, and I want to show you some examples of that, and something that I hadn't seen Collingwood do a whole lot of, but their ability to do almost what Melbourne did in the 2021 grand final. It didn't matter what it was. If it was a knock-on, it was a kick off the ground. All they wanted to do was get the ball forward and then get onto it with momentum and use their speed to get out the back. So look at this from Maynard. Just whack. He's not going to grab that footy and get tackled. He just wanted to keep that ball in motion. We had Elliott come up. He was often in front, and then Bobby Hill out the back. De Goey just punches it on. He would usually grab that footy, and then you get the surge, the run, the momentum, the speed that they've been so strong. Some really smart ball use as well. I thought Tom Mitchell in his role yesterday was excellent. I thought he used the ball really well. And these are these pivotal moments where Mason Cox, he's been the preferred ruckman over Cameron. He started in the ruck. He's just been pounding it forward. De Goey, Ginnivan punching this ball, the surge mentality. In that 3/4 time, those that heard Craig McRae speak, he said, we just have to keep doing. We have to keep coming out the front of the stoppage. We have to keep punching it on. And there's so many examples of this. And once again, there's small forwards, Ginnivan, McCreery, Hill, Elliott, all get in the back. Mason Cox, you haven't seen that very often, so I thought tactically they had the advantage as a result from stoppage.
It could have so easily gone the way of the Brisbane Lions, so let's chat about them.
They were very good, Tony, and I thought Kadeem Coleman's first half was spectacular. 13 disposed in the first quarter. I didn't think he kicked the ball as well as what he did in the prelim. I thought his kicks wobbled a little bit, but he was taking marks, intercept marks, and I thought he ran out of gas in the second half. There's a few efforts from Coleman that just thought he worked so hard in that first half, he couldn't run it out, but his first half was, I thought he had one hand on the Norm Smith medal at quarter time. He was very good. They had some other players. I thought McCluggage lifted after quarter time, went to half forward, played the wing a little bit, but Brisbane's so good.
Yeah, I thought Andrews was huge late, opposed to Billy Frampton. The Brisbane Lions small forwards, well, they're the best in the competition. I think their forward line is the best in the competition. So Collingwood manufactured goals in a way I didn't think they could. I didn't think they could kick that 90 points, Collingwood, but they eventually did. But Lincoln McCarthy, Zach Bailey were huge in the game. Rayner didn't have his best game. Charlie Cameron's second quarter was good. So they all had their moments. As a small forward, you're probably never going to be in the game for the whole 4 quarters, but they're a special group, those small forwards. They'll get their opportunities again. But Danaher was enormous too.
3 goals out of Danaher and Cameron each, and McCluggage kicked the 2.
Yeah.
So their system was proven, wasn't it?
Yeah, the system was good. As I said, I think the Bobby Hill kicking 4 goals, getting 2 out of crisp. Collingwood found other goal kickers, probably, which Brisbane didn't through the midfield.